Hello and welcome to my video. My name is Jens. This is a short video on how to taxidermy your spider, if you ever want to do that. Originally it wasn't really meant to be a how-to video, but reviewing the footage I have, I think I have enough to help you along with your own project. But before we jump into that, there's a quick story that might be of interest for mostly the Spider-Man fans and enthusiasts. About the origin of that very spider that's being taxidermied in the video. I had this spider. It was a gift from a man who some of you may know. His name is Stephen Kutcher, K-U-T-C-H-E-R. He's a well-known in the field, a well-known insect specialist. I used to work for the Warner Brothers Scenic Art Department, which is Warner Brothers located in Burbank, for those who don't know, California. And I worked there for 10 years. 2001, my boss walks up to me. I was the youngest at the time over there, and he asked me, how good is your eyesight? And I said, well, it's pretty much like that of an eagle. And he said, okay, I think I got the job for you. Drive down to Sony Motion Pictures. Sony Motion Picture, again, is Culver City, and incorporates now all the famous names like Columbia Studios, TriStar, MGM. I for sure miss some, but it's a huge place, Culver City, Sony Motion Pictures, and they were the ones behind the first Spider-Man. So at the time there were not too many scenic art places around anymore, and the art directors knew my boss, so they were thinking of him. Send us one of your guys, we have a job for him. And the job actually was, my boss couldn't even explain to me. He said, they want you to paint some live spiders, something, I don't even know. He said, if it doesn't work out, come straight back home. And don't waste any time. So I arrived there, and there was Stephen Kutcher in a little office right there next to one of the stages. And older guy, beard, looks like a safari guy with a hat and everything. Friendly face, really great sense of humor. And he right away says, okay, I have everything set up. What we do here, we are supposed to paint live spiders, a design on the back of live spiders. And the species that we'll be using is the same family as the black widow. Now, black widows, most of us know what they look like. They have this shiny, beautiful look, beautiful shiny body, little pin type legs. He had a couple cases full with spiders, all kinds of species. And he was already preparing, I have some here in a glass tube, and we'll put carbon dioxide into it. And that's exactly what he did. He let some carbon dioxide in the glass tube where the spider was in, and the spider just went limp, just like that. Really KO'd. And for that short amount of time, maybe a minute at most, we could place the spider, or that's what he did. He placed the spider on a foam pad, had a little harness cut out from a sturdy thin plastic, and pinned the spider in a way that the legs were separated from the back, from the abdomen, the big part of the spider back, and so that I had no problems or free room to paint on the actual live spider while it was still alive. And the patterns, I still have the original patterns right here that were actually, I'll show you guys. These were given to me by the art department there for Spider-Man, and I don't know how well you can see. In the end they picked, let me come a little closer, you see the mark, here's a mark and here's a mark. Those were the last two of the designs. I assume these were done in Photoshop, I'm not sure. But of those two, they ended up picking the more difficult one, this one. I remember painting this one, and on the back side also, can you see the ones on the bottom? So I painted those patterns first for them to decide which ones they wanted to have. And on the bottom you can still see here it was, these designs were made by Mr. J. Carson. Oh, Mrs. J. Carson, I don't know. And right there, Mutant Spider Options, J. Carson, some number, whatever it's, Spider-Man. And yeah, so that was my reference, and the actual spiders, the body of the spider was smaller than my pinky nail right there, and I have pretty small hands. It was the undergoing. I had no idea what I was up against, and I just brought a couple brushes, and they said it's going to be very small, so I brought some sable brushes. And eventually I painted the first one, I painted the second one, and I could focus in on the small scale to a degree, and was able to really start painting those patterns. And we ended up painting, I wrote it down there too, total of 23, and then we added 11 more. 4 died during the process. So I painted 34 of those little spiders, and we had really 5, 6 set up in one row, and with an airbrush I would paint the back gray, and then with a brush I would paint the actual pattern in blue and red. There are no blue-red spiders in the world, so we actually created those for the movie. And even the people there, they didn't know, what are you guys doing here? And we said, well, we paint those spiders that are the mutant spiders that end up, one of them ends up escaping, and you guys know the story, and coming down and biting Peter Parker, that's his name at the in the film, in his hand. But that spider that you see coming down in the movie and actually close up biting him, that's a computer-generated spider. But all the others that you see in his dream, walking across the screen, those are one of the 34 spiders that I painted for that very film. I also, which it's all very proprietary, and you can't do anything, can take stuff from the set and so on. But since I painted the spiders, I have a right to have one, and I actually grabbed one off the set that I painted in a glass tube, brought it home, and was hoping to be able to put it in clear resin. But 2 days later, I looked into the cup, and it had spun his web and kicked off the shell. Because if you paint with, people who know that they're painting, if you paint with latex, with acrylics paint, it creates like a plastic layer, almost like a rubber plastic type layer, and if it's small enough, it can be like almost peeled off as a whole, right? And the spider, this specific type of spider, would generate kind of wax, off and on to cover its body, and throughout the time of the shell being on the back, the spider would generate more wax again, and was able to pop the entire shell off. And I don't know how well you see it. I ended up taking the shell. There you see also, that's the original size of the tiny shell. I mean, here's my pinky. I don't know if it's sharp, if you can really see it. I may come with a close-up later on that you can see. And that's one of the original shells. That was one of those 34 spiders. Obviously that spider never made it into the film. And the last day, Steven Kutcher and me clean everything up, and he had his collection of spiders there. Amongst them there were a whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, but he had, I think, 4 or 5 tarantulas in there too, which never got into the movie. And I told him I would really love for him to show me how to handle one of those tarantulas. I always loved them, they're amazing animals, and he did. Put it on my hand, and that's how you handle it, that's how you treat it. And I said, well, how much do you want for it? He said, it's a gift. And that's the spider I have in the next video that I taxidermied. I also have one video on YouTube with her molting. That's the same spider. And it's been a year now since that video came up, since I put up that video of her molting, and she really only lived another year. So I had her for 13 years. She was, from 2001, she was an adult. That species is rose hair tarantula, which lives in Chile, and wouldn't survive out here in the open here in California. So if you guys have one of those and want to get rid of it because you're bored of it or whatever, there's people like that, don't just throw it out into nature. Just put it in the freezer and let the cold take care of it. It's going to be a very painless and humane death for a spider. I don't think they feel pain anyway, but they're really very mechanical, for most of you guys who tune in here, they are probably spider enthusiasts and love those animals, and you realize and you know they're very mechanical animals. Real quick before I forget, here's the close-up shot that I promised. I hope you enjoyed this little story. Let's jump right into taxidermy. And here we have it, beautifully preserved, frozen in time. And the great thing about this method, you're always in complete control over the procedure. And you can pose the spider just the way you want to, make her crawl down a branch, make her sit on a rock, or just sit there on the ground. It doesn't really matter. You can pose it just the way you want to, which is also really great using this method. Besides being the least expensive, as I said before in the video, all you need are these everyday regular household items like needle nose pliers. If you have tweezers, obviously that'll work too. Needle nose pliers to pluck out the stuff. Wire cutter like this. You can probably even buy these. I guess we got it in a set of 4 of those. Very, very inexpensive if you go to a place like Harbor Freight. You know, not the best quality stuff, but for our spider, plenty good. And $10 or whatever, 4 of these guys in one set. If you don't have those at home, also, of course, a napkin type thing that if you tear pieces off, that it really doesn't fuzz out too much, would be the ideal thing. Just like a napkin like this or paper towel. Then obviously something like this, cotton ball type thing, for you pluck little pieces out as filling. Super glue right here, important. The only importance is that it's a gel type super glue, so your glue stays in place when you apply it. And it doesn't have to be that very glue, it can be anything else. Super glue, just like, you know, you can get those tiny little tubes, that'll do too, for $1.99 or 99 cents even. So if you don't have anything at the house, just go and get one. It's very inexpensive. And of course an X-Acto knife would be very much the ideal tool. You don't have to have this X-Acto knife. You can always use, if you have carpet knife blade, it has to be new. You need to have a perfectly new point at the front, and the blade needs to be brand new and sharp, so you don't tear the skin of the spider. So this way, with a blade like this, it's just much easier to handle. You could also use a razor blade. Same thing, brand new razor blade, sharp edge, sharp pointed edge, will work just as fine. Again, much easier to handle with this handle. You can turn it when you have to cut out the oval shape out of the sternum. It's just easier to handle. So I would suggest you get one of those. If you don't have to. Other items, other blades will do it just as fine. Of course, the wire that I used, you can get this stuff at any hardware store, Lowe's, Home Depot, Ace Hardware, probably at Michael's. This particular one has a lacquer coating, so it doesn't rust. I mean, not that you're going to throw your spider in a bathtub, but lacquer coating is always good to have on there. That's pretty much all there's to it. If you have questions, please do ask. I will answer them. See you next time.